Hi there, this is Jennifer with Brome Fields, and today I'm working on a planter pot. It's to cover the planter, and I am knitting a simple garter stitch, but I'm creating a clean edge on the sides, and I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is and my little trick. So today I'm using Knit Picks Simply Cotton Worsted Yarn, and I am holding 2 strands at once. So I like knitting with bulky, it's easier on my hands, and that's how I like to do it. But you can do the same thing using 1 strand. You'll just want to use a smaller needle size. Maybe I would probably use a size 7, but I knit a little on the loose side, so I might go down to a size 6 because I do want it a little tight so that it will stand up, so it's a little rigid. Now I do have some sugar and cream yarn here, which I think is very comparable to the Knit Picks yarn for size. So just so that you can see, I think that you can interchange them. So if you can go to your local Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart even carries some colors, to pick some of that up for a quick instant gratification project. I live far from the city, an hour drive, so I order all of my yarn online. So to get started, I am starting on an odd row, which I have placed the stitch marker here so I don't have to think about what side I'm on, because my first stitch is pretty easy to figure out, but by the time I get to my last stitch, I've already forgotten what row I'm on, so I don't like to think about it. So I put that stitch marker there to help me remember. So my odd rows are the rows where I'm going to slip my first and last stitch to create this nice elongated stitch. So on my odd rows with my yarn in front, I'm going to slip that stitch off purlwise, take the yarn to the back, and I want it to be slightly loose, not too loose and definitely not too tight. And then we're knitting garter stitch. So that means we're knitting all stitches all the way across on both rows. Oops, I kind of cut that one. All right. So we're just knitting all the way down. And I have a little bit of tension on it, not a lot. So I want a slightly tight stitch. So now by the time I get to this last stitch, I've already had 10 thoughts, or I'm watching a movie, so I forgot what I'm doing. I have my stitch marker, so I'm on an odd row. So I'm going to bring that yarn forward, and I'm slipping that stitch to elongate it. Now when I flip it over to the other side without a stitch marker, my yarn is in the back of my work, so you can definitely tell that I didn't knit that last stitch, so it's really easy to knit through the back loop. So I'm not going to knit it this way, that will twist my stitch. So I'm going to go inside that loop, grab my yarn, and pull it through. Again, not too loose, not too tight, and that creates a nice elongated stitch. And then again, I'm going to knit all the way across. I love the garter stitch. It's so squishy. Now it does tend to eat up the yarn, but it has so much bulk and squish that I just really like it. And it is one that I avoided when I was a beginner knitter because I felt like it was just too easy. But now that I'm experienced, I tried this stitch and I really just fell in love with it because it's just so squishy. So again, we're going to knit through the back loop. So we're not going to knit it like twisting it that way. So we're going to go inside that loop and bring the yarn so it doesn't twist and make a tight stitch, just a nice edge. And that is how you get a clean edge. So it's just those 2 rows on repeat until it's the size that you want. I don't have one finished yet, but I will have lots of pictures so you guys can see it finished. But you can see it does have that edge there. I'll flip it over here so you can see the edges on this side. So it is just a tiny bit different here on the edges, but I do think it just lays really nice. And when you have it as the planter in your pot, you're going to sew this seam to your bind off edge. So this was your cast on edge. So this here is going to be the part that you fold down. So you will want that to be a nice, pretty edge. And this is the edge at the very bottom of the glass. So I do have a jar, an empty jar right here. I haven't filled it up with plants yet. So that's about the size that it'll be whenever it's finished. So I'll have that at the top, and I have it folded over just a little bit there. I'll probably fold it down a little bit more so I can just barely see that top rim, because I don't want the dirt to get on my yarn, or whenever I water. Working on my garter stitch plant cozy, but this is just a swatch so I can show you how I bind off for it. And I'm going to sew this edge together, sew the edges together so you can see it all come together. So I'm on an odd row and I'm going to bind off. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my yarn forward, and I'm going to slip this first stitch, bring my yarn into the back, and then I'm going to knit that second stitch, and I'm going to slip this stitch over. And then I'm just going to bind off in all knit stitches. And it doesn't have to be too tight or too loose, just somewhere in the middle. Just want it to match up with your cast on row. Oops. And you don't want it to flare out if you make it too loose. So I'm going to go ahead and knit into it to bind it off. And that'll pull it in a little bit tighter. And then I leave a long tail, and my scissors here, cut it. Oh, I like to leave my tail 3 times as long as my whatever I'm working on. So make that a little bit longer. So we're going 1, 2, and 3. So I'd rather have too much than not enough. And now I'm going to sew these together. Now, I would consider this my wrong side, because on my cast on edge, I have purl stitches. So whichever edge, doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to go with my cast on because it looks like it's longer. So I want to go into this first stitch right here. And I like to reinforce it. So I'll go around twice. And I'm going to go through it this way and go back around. So I have a loop there. So that brings it together. And now I kind of just wing it. I mean, really, there isn't a set way that I like to go through back and forth, but I do want to keep that edge because it will look nice on the other side. So I'm sewing right now on the inside, and I do like to follow this bump here. So I go over that and go through, and then there's a bump there that I like to follow back around. So then I'm going to follow that through to this one here. And I'm going to go ahead and pick those up. I really like to reinforce it as much as I can. I want to get inside the stitches too. So as many stitches as I can grab, the better. So that way I can follow the purls. So see how that yarn, so it just really blends in, and that will blend in there. Now I'm going to catch that stitch there. I feel like it's a pretty good hidden kind of seam. Let's see, there we go. And this is just the beginning, so it just kind of wing it. And again, I want to bring these together. See if I can come over and kind of make this look like it's a knit stitch there. Pull it back through there. So it's kind of on the side. So that's technically the inside. And I think it's a very nice clean seam. We're going to flip it around. And that is the outside. So really, I feel like either way you go, it looks nice. I kind of actually like this side the better, I think. I do want to clean that up a little bit more. But you can go ahead and weave in the ends, whichever side you decide you want as your right side is really up to you. It's a personal preference. So I hope that helps you guys sew up the seam for your plant cozy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.